Welcome back to Not Gospel Studios. It's Cliff and Chandra here. We have a movie review for you guys, The Northman.
Well, here's the thing.
Or do we? We may not review this movie.
No, it's not like the movie. It did come out 2022, but it's not like brand new or nothing.
It's not a brand spanking new movie. And
the reason we're talking about it.
yes, it's on our radar because we engage pretty often with our comment section. And
Yeah.
we reviewed
A trailer for
the Woman King. And we had some critical marks about it, talking about historical accuracy and this, that, and the other. And people came at us and said, I don't hear you having issues with the Northman or something. Maybe I'm misinterpreting what they were saying. But they basically were multiple times saying, where's all the outrage about the Northman or whatever?
Like, yeah.
So I watched it. You watched it.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So,
On the Woman King trailer, I titled it, and people didn't like the way I titled it. You know, I put like racist history and just
White
stuff
hate.
like that.
well, and one of the things they talked about in the in the Woman King trailer is that we referenced slavery and the kingdoms that engaged in slavery.
Oh, well, see, and then them bringing up the Northman. So I thought this was going to be a historical movie.
Yes. I didn't think it was going to be historical. I knew it was going to be more fantastical because I've seen things from this director.
I didn't know that. So
You came into it thinking it was like based on a true events from the Viking history. Oh,
exactly. So I'm like 10 minutes in, and there's like witchcraft, and they're getting possessed by wolf spirits or something. Just wild stuff is going down, and I'm just like, this cannot be historical.
So if you don't know the Northman, we have
Spoilers.
Spoilers, long and short. A Viking king of a small kingdom. He is betrayed by his brother, and he's murdered, and his son escapes. It's basically Conan the Barbarian kind of story. Like, he wants revenge on his evil uncle, and so he puts himself in slavery and becomes this great, fantastic warrior and all these things deliberately just to have the final showdown with his uncle.
And there's witchcraft and all these prophecies about how he'll overcome his uncle and win his kingdom back and all this stuff.
Right. There's witchcraft, and there's the Viking Danes pantheon of Odin and all these different, and Fenrir and all these things. I guess it's the Nordic pantheon of gods and stuff that they're praying to, Freya, and they're talking about Valhalla and being carried to Valhalla by the Valkyries and all this stuff.
Yeah.
This director's notorious for like wild imagery, crazy wild imagery.
And I did not know that.
And spiritualism and fantasy and all that. So, now.
It'd be like if you told me to watch a historical movie on Greece, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing stuff about Zeus and Athena and stuff. Like, I was just like, what? This is not history.
Well, and it stars Alexander Skarsgard. I think is his name, Alexander. He's one of the Skarsgards. That whole family, they're like all actors.
Yeah.
His brother was the one who played it in the new It movies. Yeah. First off, somebody said that we had a problem with an all-black cast in The Woman King. And they said, as soon as it's an all-black cast, they triggered white folks scream woke. And I'm like, no, that's the opposite. Like, that's historically accurate. If you're going to do a movie about an 1800s Africa in an African kingdom, indigenous, they're going to be black. And that was, who cares? That's great.
That's fine.
That's preferred because that makes sense. The same thing with the Northman. You're dealing with the Scandinavian area and then places, Iceland and all that. That's, if you're talking about a historical account, it was like around 1000 AD is when they said in the very beginning, like 965 AD or whatever. Yes, they're going to be all white folks, like pretty much. Okay.
Like,
That's fantastic.
It doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't matter
way.
to me either way.
As long as it's a well-made movie.
I like it for historical accuracy. If you're going to do it in that time period and you're going to set it in our world, accurately reflect that. I don't want to be in 16th century Asia and see a bunch of white guys. Before we dive into some of the like controversial stuff between like the Woman King and the stuff that people were talking about, like, what's your quick and dirty on whether you liked it or not?
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yes.
I would give it a 7, only because I don't think I'll ever watch it again. But as far as being entrenched in just a magical experience, it was an amazing movie. There was a lot of it that was great, but I don't think I ever want to watch it again.
See, I think you...
Because it's so heavy and so much violence.
See, I think you might need to watch The Witch.
Oh.
From him.
Do you get wrapped up in that one too?
So much so that I was impacted a little differently. I almost fell asleep in this movie.
Like a stress response?
No. Like...
Oh, you hated it?
To me, The Northman, I'm going to give it... I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of that director. And those actors. And
that's the only bad thing, other than the general violence I don't care for and stuff. The only bad thing I thought about the movie is you get so engrossed in this story that they're telling, but what kept bringing me back out of it to reality was Nicole Kidman's face with the plastic surgery and stuff.
Oh, okay.
It kept bringing me back to reality.
Willem Dafoe, his character was great.
The Green Goblin was
seen more Willem Dafoe, the Green Goblin. He will forever be the Green Goblin.
Did you like it?
It's like a 4 or something to me. I did not.
The Northman?
No, I didn't like it.
What about The Witch?
The Witch, I liked it and had some criticisms.
So which one did you almost fall asleep during?
The Northman.
I thought you said The Witch.
No. The Witch was like...
Was it better?
Okay, so in my opinion, The Northman tried to be... It couldn't decide what it wanted to be. It wasn't grounded enough in reality to be like an historical events thing.
When I abandoned that and was like, oh, this is just a fairy tale.
The action sequences weren't action enough to me, like impacted to be like what we're used to, like the choreography and the like. There wasn't enough tension in the action sequences until the very, very final one with him and the dude and in the pits of hell, whatever they call it. That was great. I'm going to say that was... If you're looking for a climax to a story and the finality, finally you got your cathartic moment there for sure. But it wasn't fantastical enough to me to be like a fantasy story, because I feel like it would travel from one of those stories to another. It'd be grounded in reality for the next minute, and then they're doing sorcery and witchcraft, and he's having fantasies of being carried by Valkyries.
Well, that's why I said it to me, as long as I thought of it as a fairy tale, then all the sorcery stuff made sense to me, and I was fine with it, and I just went with it.
What was that? There was a movie a while back. It's not The Beast or The Wolf or something like that, where these guys were trying to find this, what they thought was a werewolf thing, and it was in French.
Was it The Brotherhood of the Wolf?
Yes!
Yeah.
It was in a different language, and you had to read that fantastic movie. And to me, that is what this was trying to be, but that did it better.
Well, see, I think I need to rewatch that, because you made me watch it like 25 years ago. And I was like, okay, I don't get it. But now that I'm older, maybe I will get it.
And well, to me, it was not engaging enough, and it felt predictable. Oh. That was the problem. I felt like, well, we know what's happening, and he sold himself into slavery, and he's going to go over there. We know what's coming, and the question is either he dies while he does it, or he gets his vengeance. I was not shocked at all about Nicole Kidman's character being in on it. I was not shocked.
Like, I was suspicious, but the way they played her turn of character was disgusting to me, and I didn't think they would take it that far. Like, she went from a good mom to disgusting.
Yeah, advisory on this now, I'm pretty sure it's rated R because the gore and everything, but there is an incest kiss, a mother-son kiss. There is a lot of violence. There is some sexual content. And there's some demonic, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, ritualistic sacrifices to gods and stuff like that. Like, there's that kind of stuff. Yeah. So just, buyer beware. That's the disclaimer. I felt like this missed the mark to me.
Interesting. It's as far as I know, the first movie I've seen by this director. And I get why he's a director and they pay him money. Like, he has a vision. Yes.
He has a vision, and he executes it. I felt like this was the one that had the least identity, that knew what it was.
Okay. Because we both settled on that this is fantasy, this is a fairy tale, why do you think that other person brought it up about race and history movies and stuff?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what their perspective was on it.
Yeah.
But if there is no focus on the slavery portion of what went down in the Woman King, because that entire kingdom, every servant who's on those plantations, if they show courtyard scenes with them walking through the palace, the majority of the military, a lot of the military are indentured servitude. I mean, that's slave-based military, according to historical account. Yeah. And those workers in those fields around the palaces and whatever are plantation slaves, like they're plantation servants, according to historical account. The Northmen had no issue and felt there's no pause in their spirit at all about showing white people enslaving other white people.
Yeah.
Because it was just, we conquered the Danes and the Vikings. They conquered another kingdom. They took slaves and they did horrible things. They raped women. They did all this awful stuff.
They burned all the male kids alive.
They burned the male kids alive. They set chapels on fire. All the weak slaves they'd throw, or the people that they were not strong enough to be good slaves, they'd throw them in a building together. They'd bar it up and they'd burn it down with the people inside.
Yep.
I say that as just a matter of fact. It happened and it's terrible. Mm-hmm. Terrible things happen all over the world in different races. What's interesting to me is that they have no problem showing that. Yeah, well, of course, white folks did these to other white folks.
Yeah.
What is interesting to me by comparison is to see with slavery being such a big, significant part of the Dahamean history, if there's any of that in that movie, if there's any black-on-black slavery, if there's any mention to it at all, if there's any indication of it,
yeah,
I would wager emphatically that there's zero mention of the Dahamean kingdom having slaves of their own people.
Okay, just from what I've read and seen about the trailer of The Woman King and stuff, I'm excited to see the movie. I think it looks like it's going to be a well-crafted movie with excellent acting, great fight scenes. I think there's going to be so much good that even if it's a politically woke movie, like they're putting our modern racial agenda on that history.
Yeah.
Even if they do that, I think I'll enjoy the movie.
I won't.
But
it'll
I
always
will
be tainted
disapprove of
if
Hollywood.
it's trying to be based on historic events and it's trying to pawn off propaganda.
What if they're making it a fantasy situation like they did the Northman?
The Northman didn't say based on historical events.
Yeah.
And so if they're calling this a historic true story or whatever, that label comes with its own responsibility. You have a responsibility to present certain truths at that point. I don't condone the history of the Vikings and the way they just raided. They were pillagers and raiders. And
it was awful.
Yeah, and they tore down villages.
It's bad when black people do it. It's bad when white people do it.
But at the same time, I also don't suggest that just because you can squat somewhere, you get to keep it. I don't believe in that, because if that's the case, then if you believe, I was here first, mine, well, then you have to believe in divine right, too, which means that if you're the son of the king, you get the kingdom no matter what. It doesn't matter if there's somebody way more qualified, you get the kingdom. I don't believe in that either. I think you have to be able to defend and protect what's yours.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said, but I want to know how you think. Sometimes the modern liberals think that, say, a millionaire owns 4 homes. Well, he's not using 3 of the houses most of the year. Other squatters should be able to take it. And if he can't defend his own property because he's not there, do you think squatters can take the property?
I don't think it should be legal for that to take place. There should be legal protection of people destroying what someone else owns. So you think
after a people have dominated an area?
Well, it's like there was nothing legally protecting the Danes going in there and destroying villages and just, I killed the people who lived here and I'm taking their house. Yeah. No legal protection. It would be on them, again, to protect what's there. So if squatters came in my house, if I had 2 houses and squatters came in there and set up shop, the law defends I guess I have to go defend it. So I'll go get my weaponry and go defend it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's mine kind of thing. And that sounds kind of Wild West, but we are talking about a story that's set back in 1000 AD.
Man, when you hear those stories in like Michigan and California and stuff of these people who are like, I rented out a bedroom in my house and now they won't leave. It's crazy.
Yeah, so the Northman, going back there.
I'm talking about squatters.
The Northman, I personally feel like it didn't have the identity of these other movies. Like, it kind of was trying to figure out what it was. It wanted to be historical. It wanted to be a revenge story, and then it wanted to be a fantasy story. And it wanted to be a romance story and never got there for me all the way. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not a romance story. It's not this, but it's dabbles in all of them. And so I feel like it loses. Yeah, I just feel like it loses some identity. Tale. That's true. Yeah. But I mean, if you're a fan of that director, I believe you're going to like it. But again, if you're a fan of that director, what's your favorite? The ones that I've watched so far are The Lighthouse, The Witch, and this one, The Northman. Of these, I'm going to go probably with The Lighthouse as my favorite because it's such...
Is that the one with Daniel Radcliffe in it?
No, Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. And it's black and white. Such an interesting movie. Like... It has less action, let's say, than The Northman, but the story building is so much you're engaged. You don't know where it's going. That, for me, means more than a lot of action and stuff, which is why The Northman I got kind of bored, is I knew where it was going, knew where it was headed. When you're kept guessing where it's headed in the development, I'm like, okay, what's the next
I don't
one?
have to be kept guessing, but Well, I saw the previews for The Witch, and I remember the previews lent themselves to like, this is a horror movie. And I'm not interested in being scared. So I don't know if I would like that one.
Should we call the Northman white hate?
That would be funny.
Evil white people who are taking slaves of white people. How dare they?
That's what I named the other one, Hollywood White Hate. How can I
give
do
it a
twice?
shot? What did you guys think of the Northman? If you saw it, was it interesting? Did it bore you to death? Have you not seen it? Let us know what you think about that. Thank you guys so much for engaging in this talk and for continuing to engage in the comments. That's where we're starting to get a lot of our videos now, is from just kind of interacting with what you guys say in the comments. So don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Smash the notification bell. Keep supporting quality independent content. And as always, keep being awesome, because that's how God made you. Let's talk about it.